Hi everyone, welcome to Feline Jungle. My name is Fiona. If you're new to this channel is everything plant related. If you're passionate about plants or cats, then hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you get my videos weekly. In today's video, I'm going to talk about something that's very essential to plants, which is lighting. You hear people talk about low light, medium light, bright light, highlight, indirect light, and what does that all really mean? Also, how can you supplement low light conditions with grow lights? It's important to know the orientation of your window compared to the sun because that's how you get natural light. And also some general facts out there: the sun rises from the east and sets from the west. It's also important to know that the light is less intense in the north compared to the south just because of how the earth orbits around the sun. And these are just general facts that will affect how the light comes into your indoor spaces. Here we're in my dining room, which has south-facing windows, and I didn't set up any additional lights so you can see the natural light that's coming in here. It's very bright and direct light, and how you can tell is just by looking at my face. You can see that on this side we have a very harsh bright light on this side, and then compared to this side we have a dark shadow, which makes it very difficult for filming. Usually when we want to film here, we have to set up a lot of additional light. Now this room has very bright and direct light, but is that really good for the plants?
I'm probably going to sound like a crazy plant lady, but owning plants actually made me more conscious of the light that's coming into my apartment. So for this south-facing window, I would get medium to low light in the morning, and then around 1 o'clock is when I start getting the direct light that hits the plant, and that could range between 4 hours to 6 hours of direct light. And when I first moved into this apartment last August, I had issues with the light being too intense in here. I moved from an apartment with only north-facing light, which is not intense at all. So when I moved here, I was so excited to finally get some more direct sunlight that I put all my plants here on the floor. I didn't have a plant set up, so I basically just left them on the floor for a couple of weeks, and I thought that my plants were going to love it here, but I was so wrong. The plants actually need to acclimate to different lighting conditions. They basically went from a very low light, indirect light environment into a very bright and direct light environment, and they went into complete shock. Some of the plants had their leaves burned off, some developed black spots, and the worst part is that it actually took a long time for the damage to show. So by the time I noticed these damages, it was way too late. And that's when I knew I had to be very careful with what plants I put in this very intense south-facing window. Plants that actually love this kind of conditions are succulents, Hoyas, cactus, my fiddle leaf fig. I put them all on the side. And let me just say that growing plants is all a learning experience because I actually made another mistake when I started hanging these Hoyas here in these macrame hangers. In the summer, they actually started burning intensely because the light was just so intense and the heat was so intense that the leaves were cooking off. And you can actually see that the stems were growing away from the window, which I thought was pretty funny. So to keep the Hoyas happy, I actually had to improvise a little bit. I put a layer of film over the window so that it will diffuse the direct light that's hitting it so it's not too intense. And they're actually doing a lot better. They started growing again and they're not burning off like before. You can even see the sunstressed pink leaves that people really love in Hoyas on my Hoya Crimson Queen and my Hoya Microphylla. And my OBOVATA is actually doing really well and it's beginning to give me peduncles, which means that I'm going to get some Hoya blooms. As you move further away from these south-facing windows, the natural light actually doesn't hit the deeper part of my room. So I had to improvise for the plants that were in this dark corner of my room. Here I'm using grow lights that I got from Amazon. I like how discreet they are and how they blend in with my mirror. They actually look like spotlights for my mirror than rather grow lights. I'll link these lights in my Amazon shop, but I believe they're around $20. And what I love about them is that you can actually adjust the light intensity and also put them on timers. So here I have my Philodendron Hope, which really loves the grow light. A quick tip that I learned is that you should always acclimate your plant to the grow light intensity. So for this Philodendron Hope, I had it on the grow light with the lowest intensity, and then I slowly upped the duration of the lighting duration from 3 hours to 6 hours and then 12 hours, and this actually did really well for my Philodendron Hope. As you can see, it stopped stretching towards the windows and then it actually began to grow towards the mirror and it started to look more puffy, which I really love about it. As you move further into my house, you actually begin to see more natural light because I have skylights here. This is actually one of the selling points on why we moved into this house, because of the skylight. I would say I get constant bright light in this location because it's up above. There's really nothing obstructing the view or the light from hitting the apartment, but it also has filtered glass, so the light that's coming is actually not direct, and it's pretty good for the plants that are here. In this location, I have my SCINDAS pictus, I have a air plant, and also a string of hooks. I chose these plants because they're low maintenance. It's pretty hard to reach this spot to do any watering, and also they're plants that really like the bright light. I would say the plant that's happiest in this location is my string of hooks. So a lot of issues you have with this plant is that it'll start balding on the top because the top doesn't get enough light. But because I have a skylight here, it's actually not having that issue and it's becoming really full on the top. So I'm really excited about that. So I don't want all this good light to go to waste. It's really quality bright light, so I actually use it for my propagations as well. Propagations and cuttings could be very sensitive to light because they have little to no roots. So direct light might be too intense for these propagations. What I love about this skylight is that it has bright indirect light, which is perfect for rooting plants. In addition to the skylight, I actually just installed this grow light in this corner because I'm experimenting with different lighting conditions on my Philodendron Florida varieties. I've been trying to encourage that really beautiful white leaves that you get in Philodendron Florida Ghost, and I couldn't get that with natural light, which is why I started to use grow lights, and I'm really beginning to see some results here. I'm also beginning to see some of the effects of the grow light on my Florida Beauty. It actually encourages a lot more variegation, which is also something that I wanted. Let me know in the comments below if you actually experiment with different grow lights to encourage different characteristics in your plants as well. I also got these from Amazon. I believe they're around 20 bucks, so they're super affordable. I'll leave you the link in the description below. But if you're looking for something just cheap to experiment with your plants, I highly recommend this. It also comes with different settings from light intensities and also duration of the light.
Right now we're in my living room where I have north-facing window. The light that's coming in here is indirect, so it's very soft and it doesn't cast any harsh shadows on my face. Even right now that I'm filming, we're not using any additional light because the light in here is just very constant, bright and soft from like 9 AM to 6 PM, which makes it perfect for filming.
This is probably going to sound weird, but I have different favorite times of the day. So in this room, my favorite time of the day is when the sun hits the plant wall around 6 AM to 9 AM. During this time, you can actually see the sunlight move across the plant wall. And it's really funny too because my cat also moves. So you'll see her move from the left side to the right side. She's basically a moving plant. And a lot of plants do really well with just these couple hours of direct light. Plants that do really well in these conditions are philodendrons, peperomias, and calatheas. And that's actually the majority of the plants that I have on this plant shelf. Again, a lot of these plants are actually from my old apartment, and in my old apartment, I actually only had a tiny north-facing window. So these plants are already used to these kind of medium to low lighting conditions. So they transition really well in this space. Now, the problem with this room is that during the winter, I don't get any direct light at all, not even in the morning. So I started to notice that the plants on the top shelf were not doing well. They were so high above the window that they only had light that was bouncing off the walls. I noticed that my micans was actually balding on top and stretching to get more light. That's a sign when your plant is not getting enough light. That's also when I knew I needed grow lights for the winter months. Now I have grow lights in several locations in my house. Here I'm using the Soltech lights and they basically saved my plants for the winter. What I like about it is that it's actually pretty easy to install for 2 people, and it's also user friendly. So this is the track lighting that comes with 2 different types of outlets. It has the hardwired one, which you have to make an opening in the ceiling, or what I have is the wired one where you just have to make 2 holes and attach it. I like this one a lot more. It's less of a headache to install. The spotlights are actually adjustable, so you can adjust it at a certain angle, and also you can slide it in different locations so you can have multiple spotlights on one track. This track light also comes with a timer, and during the winter I had it on for 12 hours a day. They were still growing, so they were pretty happy. Again, it's very important to acclimate your plants. So in the beginning I had the grow light on for only 6 hours, and then I gradually moved it up to 12 hours. Right now we're going into spring, but I still have these on for 12 hours a day because I just like how they look at night, and it's like a supplement light. I also love the aesthetic of these lights and how they look like spotlights in a museum, so it makes it feel like I'm displaying art, and in this case it's growing and ever-changing art. One of the major selling points is the color of the light, so I really like the warmth of the light. I didn't want something that was like purple, red, or rainbow colored, which is what I associate with a lot of grow lights. However, the warm light does look weird on the camera, which is why when I film I actually turn them off. The only con I would say is the price tag that's associated with these lights. So this whole setup was around $300 to $400 I believe, but it's totally worth it. It's made in US and I haven't had any issues with it so far. These grow lights are actually a major factor on how I determine the placement of my plants on this plant wall. The highest shelf is equivalent to bright and medium light, and then as you go down the shelf it's more like just medium light. So that's how I order my philodendrons on top, and then as you go down the peperomias don't need as much light, and then as you go down to the lowest level is where I have my calatheas because they're used to low light conditions. I definitely saw some interesting results from using the grow lights. There is more variegation on my BIRKIN. You can see the contrast between the oldest leaf and the newest leaf. And also my micans start to grow towards the top again. You can actually see the leaves trying to grow upwards, which I think is pretty funny. They're creating this U shape. And then there's also more variegation on my stramati, which is something I didn't have before in my old apartment. So just some quick tips from what I learned from my experience is that you should experiment with the different placement to see what works for your plant. Check the lighting requirement of a plant before you buy it. See if you're able to give it what it needs, or supplement the natural light with some grow lights. And lastly, it's okay to make mistakes so you can learn from it. As you can see, I made a lot of mistakes and I learned from all of them.
This is the lighting condition in my apartment. I hope it helps demystify plant lighting for you. Let me know what kind of lighting condition you have, or do you actually use grow lights? Let me know in the comments below. This is a 10-second challenge for you to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video with all your friends. Thank you. Bye.